Hi there, this is Asia from English Boost, and this is your podcast where English meets productivity, mindset, and self-growth. Learn smarter, speak better, and feel more confident. So grab your coffee and let's boost your English together. Hello. Today we're talking about two structures that, seem quite simple. So there is and it is. And by the way, it is, not it is, okay? So there is and it is. And yet I hear mistakes with them all the time, especially from Polish speakers who tend to translate directly, right, from the Polish language. For example, someone wants to say, było dużo ludzi, and they say, it was many people, or there was many people at a meeting, for example, right? So can you spot what's wrong here? So obviously both sentences are wrong, unfortunately, and today I'm going to show you why. So by the end of this episode, you will know exactly when to use there is, there are, there was, there were, and also when to use it is structure. So let's kick off, shall we? So going back to the translation of było dużo ludzi. So the correct translation is there were many people, okay? There were many people at a meeting, for example. So not it was many people, okay? Because that would mean to było dużo ludzi. To było dużo ludzi. It was many people. But we want to say było dużo ludzi. And also, you can't say there was many people, right? Even if you corrected this, it was into there was. Because still, the word people is plural, right? Liczba mnoga. So we need to use this were, not was. There were many people, okay? So there was one person at the meeting, but there were two people at the meeting. And now I do realize that now when you're listening to me, it may seem, quite obvious, right? This rule, these structures, but you can't imagine how often I, correct my students when they're speaking during one-to-one classes. So I suppose when you're focused so much on what you're trying to say during a meeting, for example, you just tend to, forget about the correct structure. So you just use the calc from the Polish language, okay? So you have to be really careful here, even though this structure is quite simple. So now let's move on to some details, some differences. What's the difference between there is or there are and it is, okay? So the easiest way to think about that is as follows. There is or there are introduces this kind of existence of something. Czyli coś gdzieś jest. Coś gdzieś się znajduje, okay? So this is the best way to remember that. So let's translate some basic sentences now, okay? So that you get the idea of when to use this there is, there are structures. Okay, ready? Jest fajna kawiarnia blisko mojego biura. Go ahead. Okay, there is a nice cafe near my office. There is a nice cafe near my office. And by the way, remember, we don't say near to my office, okay? I always correct my students here. So near something, but next to something. So near my office, okay? There is a nice cafe near my office. The next one. Na stole jest szklanka. Easy, right? Easy sentence. Go ahead. So obviously, there is a glass on the table. There is, and by the way, you can link it, right? You can say there is a glass on the table. Czyli coś gdzieś jest, coś gdzieś się znajduje. Okay, another one. Jest ogromny korek. Go ahead. There is a huge traffic jam. There is a huge traffic jam. Okay? Another one, more complex, I would say. Asia, obawiam się, że jest problem z systemem. Asia, I'm afraid there is a problem with the system. Asia, I'm afraid there is a problem with the system. So you can't say it is a problem with the system, okay? There is a problem with the system. You're mentioning this problem for the first time. A few more to go. Jest 2 kandydatów do wyboru. Go ahead. There are 2 candidates to choose from. There are, right, because we have this plural form. There are 2 candidates, by the way, candidates, the pronunciation, not candidates, okay? So there are 2 candidates to choose from. Okay, next one. Jest dużo badań na ten temat. There is a lot of research on this topic. There is a lot of research on this topic. And now you might ask me, okay, dużo badań, right? So why are you saying there is a lot of research? Because remember, in English, the word research is uncountable, niepoliczalne, so you can't add this S ending. You can't say researches or something like that. The same applies to the word information, for example, right? So because of that, if you deal with this uncountable noun, you need to just use there is instead of there are. So there is a lot of research on this topic. Okay, so now let's practice this structure in the past. Okay, let's try. Było dużo do zrobienia. Go ahead. So obviously there was a lot to do. There was a lot to do. Okay, there was a lot to do. You can't say it was a lot to do, right? There was a lot to do or a lot of things to do. Another one. Było dużo pytań podczas prezentacji. Go ahead. There were many questions during the presentation. There were many questions during the presentation. So as you can see, a lot of questions, many questions. So you need to use this the were, not the was. So I know it's quite tricky because you have to think about it before you actually say it, right? So you have to think what kind of noun you're gonna have, singular or plural, before you even say it. So I know it's quite tricky, but easy. It's gonna become more and more intuitive for you along the way. Okay, last one. Było dużo poufnych informacji w tym dokumencie. Go ahead. There was a lot of confidential information in this document. There was a lot of confidential information in this document. And again, we have this noun information, right, which is uncountable, niepoliczalne, so you can't add this S ending, which means you need to say there was a lot of confidential information, not there were. Okay, there was a lot of confidential, by the way, confidential, not confidential, okay, confidential information in this document. Okay, so I hope you get the idea. I know, again, it's quite simple. It's a basic structure that we were actually taught at school, I know, but from my experience in speaking in this business environment, we tend to mix these structures up. So now let's move on to this it is structure, okay? And by the way, repeat after me, not it is, but it is. And you can actually link it. It is, okay? So we use it basically when we're talking about something that already exists. So you've already mentioned it and now you're just describing it, okay? Czyli tłumaczymy to jako to jest, okay? Czyli porównaj jest dużo ludzi, a tutaj mamy to jest. Okay, so coming back to this common mistake, it was many people, it's incorrect, right? Because that would mean to było dużo ludzi, a chcemy powiedzieć było dużo ludzi, right? So there were many people. Okay, so let's have several examples with this it is structure. So let's translate literally 2 sentences because I suppose this one is quite easy. To jest najciekawsza książka, jaką kiedykolwiek czytałam. Go ahead. Okay, so it is the most interesting book I've ever read. And by the way, you can either say it is the most interesting book or this is the most interesting book. So for example, if you have this book in front of you, right, somewhere nearby, then you can say this is, right? This is the most interesting book I've ever read. So very often you ask me, Asha, what's the difference between it is and this is? So very often if you're not talking about something abstract, if you're talking about something that is here, something that you've already mentioned, something that you've already mentioned, then actually you're allowed to say this is instead of it is, okay? But both are correct. So this is or it is the most interesting book. And by the way, I've ever read, present perfect. And remember, we don't really say the most interesting book which I've ever read or that I've ever read. Generally, we just skip it. So the most interesting book I've ever read. Okay, one more to go. To była bardzo droga inwestycja. Go ahead. It was a very expensive investment. It was a very expensive investment. So obviously, in both cases, you have this to. To jest, to była, right? While with there is, there are, you basically have this jest korek, był korek. So you don't have this to było, to jest. Okay, so I hope you're with me. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some really interesting difference, I would say. So let's compare these two structures. Let's translate. Jest spotkanie jutro o 10 rano. Go ahead. So obviously, there is a meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. There is a meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Jest spotkanie. Coś gdzieś jest, right? Versus to jest bardzo ważne spotkanie. Go ahead. It is a very important meeting. Or this is a very important meeting. So as you can see, to jest. Mówimy już o czymś, co zostało wcześniej wspomniane. Opisujemy to. Okay, another set, another difference. Jest propozycja od klienta. Go ahead. You know, there is a proposal from the client. There is a proposal from the client. You're mentioning it for the first time. While to jest propozycja, którą musimy rozważyć. Go ahead. It is a proposal we need to consider. Or this is a proposal we need to consider. So as you can see, we're actually talking about something that has already been mentioned, right? Jest propozycja, there is a proposal, ale to jest propozycja, konkretna propozycja. This is or it is a proposal we need to consider. And one more to go. Asia, jest problem. Go ahead. How would you say that in English? Obviously, Asia, there is a problem. Okay, so you can't say Asia, it is a problem. Asia, there is a problem. Jest problem. You're mentioning it for the first time. Okay? While mamy dużo zmian do wprowadzenia, ale za mało czasu. I to jest problem. Mamy dużo zmian do wprowadzenia, ale za mało czasu. I to jest problem. Go ahead. Okay, so we've got many changes to make or to introduce, but too little time, and it is a problem. Or, and this is a problem. So as you can see here, we're actually mentioning that this whole situation is a problem. It is a problem, right? To jest problem. While in the first case, you're just mentioning the problem for the first time. Asia, there is a problem, jest problem, and then you're describing that problem to me. Okay, are you with me? Very subtle difference, I would say. Okay, so now let's move on to this final test yourself section with both there is and it is structure. So we're gonna mix it up a bit, okay? So let's see if you've got it. So let's translate these sentences. Number 1. Jest wiele kwestii do omówienia. Go ahead. There are many issues or matters to discuss. There are many issues or matters to discuss, or you could also say to be discussed. Very nice passive voice variety. But as you can see in the Polish language, we say jest wiele kwestii do omówienia, więc tak jakby kusi nas, żeby powiedzieć there is, no bo jest, right? But right away you have to think about this plural form, liczba mnoga. So there are many issues or matters to discuss. Okay, next one. To było bardzo stresujące. Go ahead. Okay, easy, right? It was very stressful. So actually this structure with it is, it was, is quite simple, it's quite easy to be understood, right? But I'm just trying to show you the difference between there is and it is, because again, people tend to mix it up. Okay, number 3. Na parkingu jest dużo samochodów. Go ahead. So obviously, there are many cars in the car park. There are many cars in the car park. Okay? And as you can see in the Polish language, we tend to start the sentence with the place. So, na parkingu jest dużo samochodów. Well, in English, of course, you could say in the car park, there are a lot of cars. But I think it's much more natural to just say there are many cars in the car park. Okay? Number 4. To jest dobry pomysł. Obviously, it is a good idea, or this is a good idea. Okay? Number 5. Był pomysł, żeby zacząć od nowa. So, there was an idea to start from scratch. There was an idea to start from scratch. So again, you can't say it was, okay? There was an idea, gdzieś tam był jakiś pomysł to start from scratch. Number 6. Na spotkaniu było około 30 osób. There were about 30 people at the meeting. There were about 30 people at the meeting, okay? Not on the meeting, at the meeting. So as you can see, again, in the Polish language, we have this było, right? So we are tempted to say it was or to say there was, but well, we need to use the plus plural. So there were about 30 people at the meeting. Number 7. Jest jeszcze jedno pytanie. Go ahead. There is one more question. There is one more question. Coś gdzieś jest, right? Another one. Obawiam się, że będą problemy z tą aplikacją. I'm afraid there will be problems with this application. And now pay attention. I'm afraid there will be problems, right? The future tense. I'm afraid there will be problems with this application. So you can't say, I'm afraid it will be problems, okay? There will be problems with this application. Next one. Jest dużo czasu, żeby dowieść ten projekt. There is a lot of time to deliver the project. There is a lot of time to deliver the project. Okay, 2 more to go, bear with me. Now a question, so let's see how you feel with questions. Czy jest wystarczająco miejsca w biurze? Is there enough space at the office? Is there enough space at the office? So there is enough space. And the question inversion, is there enough space at the office? Okay, so you can't say, is it enough space? Is there enough space at the office? And the last one, jak dotąd były 4 skargi. Go ahead. So far, there have been 4 complaints. And now, let's split it into parts. First of all, it's present perfect, okay? Because we have this so far, okay? So far, there have been 4 complaints. There have been, because you have this plural noun, rzeczownik w liczbie mnogiej, skargi, so there have been, not has been, obviously. So there have been 4 complaints so far. Okay, so one thing I'd love you to remember after today's episode is this. Whenever you're about to say yes in Polish, then don't translate it automatically right away, okay? Just first ask yourself one question. Okay, am I saying that something exists? Coś gdzieś jest, coś gdzieś się znajduje? Then use there is, there are, there was, there were, right? Or ask yourself a question, am I describing something that has already been mentioned? Then to jest, to było, use it is, it was, okay? So that one question will actually eliminate most of the mistakes Polish speakers make with these structures. And of course, remember about the singular and plural forms. So there was one person at the meeting, but there were a lot of people or 2 people at the meeting. Okay, so I hope you've found this episode useful, and of course follow this podcast for more practical lessons and explanations like that. Cheers.